Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Theravada Buddhism series, Dhamma talk number 35. Beautiful consciousness of sensuous realm. Kamavacara Sobhana Citta. There are 24 beautiful consciousness in sensuous realm. They consist of wholesome, resultant, and functional groups. Each group consists of 8 kinds of consciousness. The first group, beautiful, wholesome consciousness. Sobhana Citta. We are going to explain about these 8 consciousnesses of this group, one by one, with a little storyline. The storyline goes like this. Someone joyfully perform a helpful, beneficial service, understanding that it is wholesome and connected to karma and its result, spontaneously and without prompting. What it is someone does a good deed joyfully, happily, and at the same time the person knows that deed is related to karma, causal relationship. Meaning, if one does a good deed, there will be a good result. That's understanding. And at the same time, he simply jumped up and do it without thinking twice, spontaneously. The person did that without being pushed or urged or coerced. So that's the storyline. And that represents the first consciousness of this wholesome group. Joyful, meaning pleasant feeling. Understanding, meaning knowledge or wisdom. Spontaneously, without being pushed, pressed, or urged. Those 3 factors are the key points of this first consciousness. Okay, the second one. Someone performs the same good deed joyfully, with understanding, after deliberation or prompting by another. Someone does a good deed, wholesome deed, joyfully, wholesome, joyful. And also there's the understanding, knowledge, insight, wisdom, connection to the law of karma. But this time, the person has to think twice Should I do it? Shouldn't I do it? Or a friend push him, go ahead, do it, that's great, good. That's a difference between the first and the second consciousness. First one, spontaneously. Second one is after prompting, pressing. And the third consciousness of the same group, someone performs the same good deed, good act, joyfully, without prompting, and also without understanding that this is connected to wholesome karma. Doing the same deed joyfully, without being pushed, but this time he has no understanding that the act is connected to karma. That's a third one. The fourth consciousness, someone perform the same good deed joyfully, happily, but without understanding that law of cause and effect with the action. And also after deliberation or prompted by another person, is being pushed to do it. So those are the full consciousness. A good deed and doing it joyfully. The difference is one pair has to be pushed to do it, another pair is spontaneously. And also one pair is with knowledge and understanding. Another pair is without knowledge and understanding. The action, the good deed, is connected to the law of karma. So those are the four. And the 5, 6, 7, and 8. They are the same as the first 4, except the feelings. The first 4 is done with pleasant feeling, joy and happiness. And this second set of 4 is done with neutral feeling instead of being joyful. So that's a difference. So altogether 8 consciousness under the beautiful wholesome consciousness group. When these 8 types of consciousness arise, there are no unwholesome mental states in the mind. When you do at that particular moment, there is no unwholesome states in your mind. Therefore, these consciousness inhibit the unwholesome mental states or defilements and produce good result. This consciousness arises in the unenlightened persons and also in a partially enlightened noble person, meaning the first stream winner, once returner, and non-returner, the first 3 noble person. Whenever we perform a meritorious deed or action, deed, speech, and thought. One of these 8 types of consciousness is arising. When you do a good deed, one of these 8 types of consciousness is arising. Before we just do it, we feel good. That's all that we know. Now, you know exactly what types and how they are. These consciousness, beautiful consciousness of sense sphere, do not occur in Arahants because their actions are purely functional, and those actions do not produce any new karma because they have abandoned craving and ignorance. So we explain the 8 types of beautiful, wholesome consciousness, the first group. The second group, beautiful, resultant consciousness with roots. In Pali, Sahituka Sobhana Citta. Sahituka means with roots. Sobhana, beautiful. Vipaka, resultant. Citta, consciousness. The second group is not plain, beautiful, resultant consciousness, but it has good roots. They are the resultant consciousness, but these resultant consciousness have a good nature, good root, meaning they have a generosity, loving kindness, and wisdom. The 18 rootless consciousness also belongs to the sensuous realm. So, if you remember, talk on the ahetuka citta, rootless consciousness. They also belong to this sense sphere or sensuous realm. Beautiful consciousness belong to the sense sphere or sensuous realm. Both are in the same realm. These 18 rootless consciousness, as the name indicated, they have no roots. But the beautiful consciousness has roots, which means they have a good nature. To differentiate from rootless resultant consciousness, we put the word sahetuka with roots as a prefix in Pali. Normally is beautiful resultant consciousness, but to differentiate it, we added up with roots, just for clarity. There are 8 kinds of beautiful resultant consciousness with roots. These are the result of the 8 beautiful, wholesome consciousness of this sense sphere. The first set is the action, karma, producing activities. The second set is the result of those actions. However, these arises mainly in the sensuous realms, but it may occur in the minds of the Brahma of form sphere and formless sphere. They appear only in the sensuous realms because they are the results of the 8 beautiful, wholesome consciousness. They have no karma producing power. So these resultant consciousness, beautiful resultant consciousness with roots, arises only in the sense sphere. That's a key point. Even though you may find it in the Brahma here and there. Beautiful functional consciousness with roots, that's the third group. This time is functional consciousness. At the same time, we still added that little prefix with roots. In Pali, Sahetuka Sobhana Citta. We put that prefix to differentiate from the 3 rootless functional consciousness. If you remember those 3 in the Ahetuka Citta, rootless functional consciousness. You remember the name? They are sense door adverting consciousness, mind door adverting consciousness, and smile producing consciousness. Those are the 3. These 8 consciousness are the same as the 8 beautiful, wholesome consciousness. In terms of natures and characters, they are exactly the same as the beautiful, wholesome consciousness. But these functional consciousness, even though they are the same, there's some difference. The difference is only the Buddha, silent Buddha, and Arhat has these kind of functional consciousness. The 8 beautiful functional consciousness are identical with the 8 wholesome consciousness. That's a key point. But this functional group arises only in Buddha, silent Buddha, and Arahat. Those are the 2 key points. When Arahat does good action, wholesome action, consciousness with pleasurable feeling and wisdom will arise. When they do good things, you feel good, and there's a wisdom. They arise together. But such actions of Arhat do not produce karma, because those actions do not have the karma producing power. That is why it is called functional. This functional consciousness arises and disappears without leaving any potential to give result. That is because the Buddha and the Arahats have destroyed craving and ignorance, tanha and avijja. They have no attachment to any form of effects. They don't expect any result. They don't expect anything. They simply do it without the slightest trace of expectation. Their acts become just an act, functional acts means simply doing, just doing. And also doing means they merely arise, accomplish some necessary functions, and that consciousness disappear or passed away without leaving any residue. That's what doing means. Consciousness arise, do what is necessary, and it disappear without leaving any residue because they have no expectation. Arahants laugh or smile with 5 types of consciousness. Full consciousness from the beautiful sense sphere, functional consciousness, and one from the functional's rootless consciousness. Ordinary people laugh or smile with 8 kinds of consciousness. Full, pleasurable, greed-rooted consciousness, and full, pleasant, wholesome sense sphere consciousness. So, this gives a brief summary of the 24 beautiful consciousness of sense sphere. May you be able to understand these in theory and able to bridge with your practice so that your wisdom may become sharper along the journey towards Nibbana. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Thank you very much.